Hey, so Ted, one of the things that we hear a lot on Loveology is, what do I do when my spouse kind of triggers me? I kind of get set off sometimes. There's certain things they know how to push my buttons. And of course, nobody knows how to do that better than your own spouse because they are with you so often. What can you do when you feel like you're getting triggered by your spouse?
Yeah, I think for a lot of times we've all been in this spot where we say, I wish I hadn't said that. I can't believe I said that again. I promised I'd never say that again. And we have this reaction that we're not pleased with and obviously completely ineffective. And not only was it ineffective, it was hurtful. And so one of the things that, Les, you're a fellow geek, but we get geeked out with neuroscience, right? But one of the things that it's teaching us relationally is when our spouse triggers us, it triggers a part of the brain called the amygdala. And it's the same part of the brain that if we were to put our hand on a stove, that would make us jerk it back immediately, which we are so glad that our brain has that the thought is not, oh, this is really hurting, I should remove it, that we've got that. When our spouse triggers us, it's that same part of the brain. And the problem with that is our frontal lobe, which is where all our logic is, all our long-term reasoning, just goes out to lunch for 8 seconds. And so we react in this way without thinking about what we want for our relationship long-term, and we can hurt them. And so I think people like me have made marriage way too complicated. So people say, what do I do when my spouse triggers me? I say, don't talk. Not with your face, not with your body, not with your word parts, none of that. That you pause and you give it a little time, let your frontal lobe come back online a little bit, breathe and respond. And I think we'll end up with better responses when we pause those.
Okay, so Ted, that sounds incredibly simple, and that's incredibly difficult to do. Now, only a neuropsychologist has something like this on their desk. I didn't know you were going to talk about the amygdala. I happen to have a brain that sits on my desk because I refer to it so often. But that amygdala deep down in your brain does impact what you're talking about, the frontal cortex, where we make our decisions, and we become really irrational at that point. Once it's been triggered, you can't just stop talking. You're in high gear. It's fight, flight, and flee. It's everything. Boosh, right? So what do you mean by just stop talking? How in the world can you do that?
Well, I think we're at these moments, and I've learned this trick the best with raising 3 teenagers. I get practice for this a lot, and I can be way reactionary with them, way reactionary. And I have learned to pause myself when I have these conversations. When I get lit up, literally, people say bite your tongue. I bite my tongue, or I bite my lip. So it is possible in those moments, even when you're triggered, to pause and just to slow things down. And we're always going to win when we slow things down.
It's a conscious effort, isn't it? It's not something that's like in the moment, oh yeah, I need to do that thing.
Right.
You have to kind of, I often use the analogy of an airline pilot. Remember when Sully Sullenberger landed and was a hero because of what he did. And they said, how did you make those decisions so quickly? He said, I didn't make the decisions in that moment. I made those decisions years ago that if I ever got into this situation, I knew what I would do. And we kind of have to approach this the same way, don't you think?
100%. I think, and the more we practice it, the better we get. I think research shows too is, the 8 seconds even becomes shorter. That we've got this pause to be able to do this. We say a lot, people that have bad marriages typically don't have bad hearts, they have bad habits. And so how can we get into a better habit and stop the bad habit of just reacting and get into a better habit of pausing?
That's so good. And you're right, that 8 seconds can shrink. In fact, we know from research it can go to 3 seconds. You can actually flip it in a 3 second. Once you kind of train your brain, you should get a new habit, not a new heart, just a new habit, because your heart is with that person. Ted, so helpful. Thanks so much.
Hey friends, we really hope you're enjoying the marriage conversations here on our A Better Us YouTube channel.
We have hundreds of more helpful marriage videos designed to give you hope and tools to make your marriage even better.
Right. And you can see just a few options we think you might like here and here. So keep exploring.
Oh, and make sure you subscribe by clicking here so you don't miss out on all the great marriage help we have coming your way all the time.